Hello, I'm Cindy with Wisconsin Voices for Recovery, and this is Speak Out on Stigma. Today we'll be hearing from Mary Jo Redmond Ellis from Gunderson Health. Hi, Mary Jo, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Great. So tell me, how does stigma harm people seeking or in recovery?
So when you even hear the word stigma, it has a negative and a note as it is. Like when I hear the word stigma, I think of judging. So when you have somebody that is trying to seek recovery and they're afraid that um, that title or that label will be labeled with them, they get afraid to even speak about what is happening in their life. I feel people need to not be embarrassed or that shame and guilt that comes with substance use disorder to be able to seek freely to live a better life. So, meaning if they have fears, that's going to keep them from seeking help in a healthy way to live a healthier life. I When we think about alcoholics and or substance use disorder, drug addiction, we think of people homeless or displaced or someone who doesn't have a job or doesn't just doesn't drive. It's just different. Everyone has different views about what they feel substance use disorder looks like. When they see professional people who also suffer with substance use, it's a whole different mindset. So I always like to speak about it because suffering and being in recovery myself, I have a professional job. I take very much value in that, but I also have to be concerned that I have a substance use disorder and I'm not afraid to speak about it so that other people are not afraid to come forward and say, I need help and be able to feel safe and feel confident that they're going to get the care that they deserve to get. So I look for, I don't, stigma to me has people shying away from living the life they deserve. I We see it in movies, we see it in television shows. When you see people with substance use disorder, there's a certain type that they kind of portray in some of these storylines. And when you see normal people meaning your average person who also suffers with a substance use, you don't think of that. You think of other people. So that stigma gets attached to them and they don't want to find the help they need. I work with a lot of professionals. I'm a recovery coach as well, and I do coach people in those situations. And some of them, their anonymity is extremely important because of the stigma aspect of the substance use disorder.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that really stood out to me when you were talking was your mention of visibility. So making people aware, like, I have a substance use disorder, and showing that the stigma, you identified some of the complexities in stigma. So it's more than simply the word or the label. It can be a combination of characteristics that people place on a particular individual that has a substance use disorder. And so, those components are also really important to be aware of and to, raise awareness about, speak out about, increase visibility.
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, for a long period of my own life, because I felt I was paying my bills, I was holding a job, I was taking care of my home, taking care of myself, that I wasn't suffering from substance use, which an unmanageability can look in all sorts of different ways in someone's life. And when I really take a step back, even looking at it today, my life was unmanageable. I just was not seeing it as that at the time because for me, I was functioning in that situation.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing. And in what ways have you been treated differently due to stigma?
So when I decided to get sober, I wanted to go. Obviously, you need help to overcome the withdrawals. I did enter an emergency room several times, and was treated not. I felt like there was a stigma attached to why I was there. So they notice you're there for that specific reason. There was times that I sat in the emergency rooms for 4 hours or more without even being talked to, and basically was waiting for me to sober up, so to speak. And then I was sent home saying, you can there our lack of facilities to enter are very hard to find. Beds available, insurance problems, or, acceptance from your insurance has to be accepted into a place. So there's waiting lists to get into certain treatment centers. So in the meantime, you are sent home just to wait to try to enter into treatment. So between that time I was sent home and the time I could enter treatment, it was, for me, I struggled to stay sober to where I wanted to go back into treatment. So I started the cycle all over again. So I became an habitual person, so to speak, to go into the emergency rooms asking for help, being made to feel that it wasn't important enough for me to be treated, sent home, and the cycle started all over again. Um, that was, it was just really heartbreaking for me to being told the nearest detox was 2 hours away and I would have to get a ride to go there. Well, some people don't have vehicles, license, or any of those other things. So how at the time I did, but however, I was not in the shape to drive to the detox center. So it was very heartbreaking for me to be able to see the lack of compassion, even though I had held a professional job at that time. And I was someone who was really wanting help and was not seeking the help that I thought I deserved. I was also hospitalized several times for alcohol related problems with my own health, and felt it was, I mean, I felt I was treated not like I was somebody who had cancer, so to speak, where the sympathy wasn't there. It was like more like this is something you did to yourself. Now this is what the repercussions were. I've had that feeling. There were other times I had really amazing situations that came up, and there was also times I felt really the stigma was there. So that to me is so important that we make awareness to that stigma because it exists, it's there. And I felt it in many ways through my emergency rooms and my hospitalizations throughout my life.
Really speaking to that compassion and empathy piece is really important. Um, can I spring an extra question on you?
Yeah.
So what can healthcare professionals do to address stigma and support people reaching out for help?
That's the part I love about my own job and being able the position I am in. When I'm also have a lot of my own healthcare professionals know that I'm in recovery, and they ask me to speak with people who are looking for resources or help, or even someone to sit and talk to with, because I think having that understanding is so important, to know that you're not alone in this. Because I think when I was really in the midst of my own addiction, I felt so alone, and I could have been in a room full of people and it doesn't matter because I felt like nobody really understood. So really understanding that substance use disorder isn't a choice. A lot of people think it's a choice. You choose this lifestyle. I do not believe that. I would not have chosen some of the days that I had lived because I thought it was fun. It wasn't fun in many ways. It was a survival for me for many ways, many days, many ways. And when I was able to find the help and be able to stay sober, my 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 passion to give back and to help other people with the compassion and care and finding resources. If I don't know, I will try to find a resource for somebody who does know how to help a specific individual in what they are needing. I think just the understanding and the empathy and knowing that this we come for help in like almost a desperate situation where I know I was done and I just couldn't survive anymore. And I knew I needed to find a way to get sober and to stay sober.
Thank you for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I love these opportunities to be able to talk about my own experience, strength, and hope because it's so important for us to understand that anyone struggling with this, they are not alone, that there is people to help. There are people that understand. And I just, I want to shout it out as much as I can because to me, it's just a huge passion of mine. So I was very excited to be able to talk with you and to share some of my little bit of my experience, strength, and hope to be able to reach even one person is a success story to me.
Awesome. Awesome. So support and strength through visibility and
Mhm.
connection.
Yes,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mary Jo, for sharing your views on stigma. And
absolutely.
and thank you to our viewers for watching. Speak Out on Stigma is a forum to raise awareness about the harmful impact of stigma on those in and seeking recovery. Recovery is for everyone. Together we can eliminate stigma. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Thank you and have a great day.